In Chapter 14, Exercise 17, they're asking you to give the IUPAC name for some amides. Now, remember, an amide is a molecule that has a carbon double bonded to oxygen, single bonded to an amine. That, all together, makes an amide. When you have an amide, the suffix is, naturally enough, amide. So that's how that's represented in the name. Now here, there aren't any branches. We only have 2 carbons in this chain, or I should number it there, 2. And so the prefix for this is going to be F. Between the carbons, there are only single bonds between the carbons. And so the infix is going to be AN. It's true there are double bonds in the molecule, but they're in a functional group, and that's going to be represented by the suffix. So the infix here, representing all the bonds between carbons, or outside of the functional group, is AN for all single bonds. The suffix represents the functional group, and here we have a carbon double bonded to oxygen, single bonded to an amine. That is an amide, and so the suffix will be amide, or amide. And so the name for this molecule overall will be ethanamide. Ethanamide is the name for this. This one also does not have branches, so first we number it. We have 4 carbons, so the prefix for this will be bute. Between the carbons, outside of the functional group, we have only single bonds, and so the infix is going to be AN. Finally, we do have a functional group. It's a carbon double bonded to an oxygen, single bonded to an amine. That is an amide, and so the suffix will be amide. The name for this molecule is butanamide. You don't have to give a number for where the amide attaches. Notice that in the amide functional group, right, carbon double bonded to oxygen, single bonded to nitrogen, this carbon here, where the nitrogen is attached and where the double bond to the oxygen is assumed to be carbon number 1. And so you don't have to say where the amide is. It's assumed to be at carbon number 1. So the name for this compound altogether, butanamide. Let's try this one, and this one is really interesting because it has more than one carbon chain, kind of like an ester. On the left there's a carbon chain that has the double bond to the oxygen, and on the right there's a carbon chain that doesn't have a double bond to the oxygen. The carbon chain that has the double bond to the oxygen is the backbone, and the other carbon chain is going to be named as a branch. So first let's name the backbone. In that backbone there is only one carbon, and so the prefix is going to be meth. Outside of the functional group there are only single bonds, and so the infix is going to be AN. Finally, we do have a functional group, and it is a carbon double bonded to an oxygen, single bonded to an amine. That's an amide, and the suffix for an amide is amide. So the backbone here is going to be methanamide. Now, outside of that backbone, we have a branch. The branch has 2 carbons coming off of it, 1 and 2, and so the prefix is F. Also, it's a branch, and so after the F comes YL. But notice, we have to say where this is attaching. Is it attaching to one of the carbon chains in the backbone? No, it's attaching to the nitrogen. And because of that, we're going to put a big capital N in front and then a dash. The N is taking the place of what would normally be a number. You usually say 2-ethyl or 3-ethyl to say where the ethyl branch is coming off. Because in this compound, the ethyl is coming off of the nitrogen, we put N-ethyl. So you put that branch name in front of the backbone name, and the name for the overall compound will be N-ethyl methanamide. N-ethyl methanamide.